Good afternoon, folks. My name is LaRon Armstead, and I'm honored to have been asked to speak to you and tell you a bit about myself and my experience with the Salvation Army. But before I do so, I would like to dedicate these remarks to my mother, who recently passed away this March. I was one of 13 children growing up in the Pueblo del Rio projects of South Central Los Angeles. The projects are littered with gangs, violence, death, and most importantly, hopelessness. For a while, I started to become a hopeless individual. I believed that the only way was to do poorly, not care about school, and follow my peers. At that point in my life, I was a child trapped. When I look back to my early education, I can remember that school and learning were not things that made you cool. The men sold drugs while the women watched, and the kids knew one day they would grow up to do the same. When I was 9, my best friend, who went by the name Boo Boo, brought drugs to school. This was not my first time being around drugs, but this was the first time we had them at our disposal. This brought both excitement and panic. I remember being so excited because the older guys always told us that once we get into the game, no one will be able to tell us what to do. The game being selling drugs for occupation. For 2 9-year-old boys, those drugs meant that we were the coolest dudes in the school. Nothing ever really came of the situation on that day, but as I reflect on it, I'm amazed that kids that age knew of drugs, had access to them, and viewed them as a sense of freedom. But this was our way of life. While other kids were going to Disneyland, camping trips, having fun adventures, me and my friend were dealing with drugs. By middle school, I was fully introduced into the life that was destined for me. A life of drugs, crime, and again, hopelessness. 2 months into the 7th grade, I was a model student, a model thug student. I was recognized at my middle school as a gangbanger, failing all my classes, even PE, getting into fights, and becoming an all-around dangerous kid. My life was spiraling downwards, but I was making a name for myself, for destroying my image to some, for building it up in the minds of my gang. This meant security. And this was my life to be, and also my future. One week, in the middle of all the turmoil, I noticed a sign for a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at my middle school. Basketball, I thought. I can't play it, and don't even like it. What I did know was that from this basketball tournament, and the two individuals who ran it were about to change my life completely. Andre Patterson and Dan Larson. They talked to me and convinced me to play basketball. It was the first time I had ever in my life held a conversation with a white person about anything other than school and detention. But what I realized was that these men, especially Andre, both had characteristics similar to me, but they were all positive. The tournament lasted a week, and if I remember correctly, my team was the first one to get eliminated. However, the last conversation I had with Andre and Dan was that they were helping the Salvation Army open a center, and it was a place where we could play basketball, stay out of trouble, and stay away from all the negative things that come from the streets of LA. I was blessed with this life-changing event in my 8th grade year. I was introduced into the Salvation Army Youth Center in South LA. The Army, as we call it, has given me a family, a permanent home, and more importantly, salvation. I remember seeing this glorious place, and my heart started to fill with joy. A million questions rumbled through my mind as I stood outside of those front gates. The questions were, what is this place? What is inside of it? But more importantly, who is inside of it? I felt like a little ant in front of a large palace made of gold. I was really nervous, but the excitement and joy overpowered this nervous feeling. To my surprise, out came Andre and Dan. They showed me around and told me they were not open yet, but insisted that I could help them build and move things around the Salvation Army on that first day. And I said yes without hesitation. The first day of my new home, I got a really great lesson. this lesson was to work. And this wasn't going to be any easy work. I learned that as a man, you're going to have to roll up your shirt and sleeves, get dirty, and earn what's yours. Helping Andre, Dan, and Mr. Jones meant so much to me. It gave me a sense that I had actually done something positive that would not just benefit me, but benefit others in my same situation. I felt a part of something, and from that, the greatest feeling I had was joy. From that day on, I knew it was my duty to help others in my life. Meeting Andre Patterson, Mr. Jones, the executive director, Dan Larson, the program director, and Anna, who works as the kitchen chef, all played a huge hand in shaping me to the man I am today. To meet Andre is first a mentor, a true friend, a brother, and more importantly, he was also a father figure. These are all things that I look back today and realize that young men need in their life. Growing up in a society where I didn't have these family components all the time, I thought I was forced to stray and look up to the criminals and drug dealers in my neighborhood. This all changed for me once I met Mr. Jones, Andre, Dan, and the rest of the Salvation Army crew. At home sometimes there wasn't much food, so I told Andre and Dan. They told me, LaRon, if you come to the Salvation Army every day, pick up your grades, do your homework, and stay out of trouble, and they would take me to lunch every single day, and I would have my own meal. This news put a huge smile on my face, and because this news put a huge smile on my face because it was rare that I didn't have to share any food with my brothers or sisters, or sometimes my friends. I literally ate, slept, and lived at the Salvation Army. I became happy and had things to look for daily. I started to set goals for myself. The Army kept me busy, out of trouble, and they had many activities on a daily, and I enjoyed helping Andre, Dan, and Mr. Jones. I went from a failing student to receiving B's and A's and making my mother really, really, really proud. I actually walked the stage of my 8th grade ceremony. I didn't notice how big of an accomplishment this was until I saw my mother crying after. I was a changed young man. School, family, God, and the Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army came before basketball, even though basketball was all I wanted to do. By the time I hit high school, I was one of the best 9th graders in all of the LA area. My social skills developed, and I was able to hold conversations with teachers and elders while showing a sense of respect. I was proud of myself. My mother was proud of me. Andre was proud of me. Dan was proud of me. Mr. Jones was proud of me. Anna, the kitchen cook, was proud of me, mainly because I was gaining weight. And this gave me a sense of motivation to keep going. For the next 4 years of my life, I went to the Salvation Army every single day. I learned and gained so many morals from this experience that in no way that I ever thought was possible. I was saved. I did not have to worry about the gang violence, drugs, or anything negative that came from the streets of LA. One day in high school, my friends I went to middle school with all came to the Salvation Army to play basketball. Immediately, they started to compliment me and tell me how much better in basketball I had become. And I can remember one of my friends saying, "Man, Ron, you're so different than all of us now. I wish we would have done what you did and lived at the Salvation Army." I heard this and realized I was different because all I wanted to do was to go to school, play basketball, and then go to the Salvation Army afterwards, while others wanted to gangbang and deal with the streets of LA. In 10th grade, my family was evicted and we moved into my grandparents' home. This meant that 15 or so family members were living in a 2-bedroom home. I slept on the floor with my younger brother and sister, while my mom, brothers and sisters, and aunties all slept on the couch or in bed. The term we used around the house was, "Get in where you fit in." While living there, my grandfather had a stroke, which left his right side of his body completely paralyzed. Every day while living there, I would get up at 6 or 5 a.m. before I went to school and lift my grandfather out of his bed into his wheelchair. Little did I know that later on in college, during basketball season, it would cause me severe back problems. But it was my grandfather, and I loved him, and I would do anything for him. I asked my grandmother countless number of times why she wouldn't move to a hospital or hire some help. Her reply was, "We couldn't afford it." As I look back at our living situation, I realized that the conditions in our home were horrendous. Sometimes we survived cold showers, scarce food, no electricity at times, but more importantly, food stamps. Unfortunately, what made our living situation bearable was that it was all any of my family members knew. In all honesty, it was the South Central way of living. As a senior in high school, I led our basketball program, averaging 20-plus points, 8 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, and to a winning record. Colleges started to recruit me for my basketball skills. I kept my GPA up at a 3.4 and served as an active volunteer at the Salvation Army and a tutor for my high school. College was something me or my family was unfamiliar with, so one morning I woke up and laid out my scholarships and chose the school I was going to. I chose LMU, a program built off academics and a rising basketball program. But more importantly, I would be the first person to go to college and choose a different path for my family. The day I committed and signed to play LMU, I felt as if I was freed from all the obstacles in my neighborhood, free to be whoever I wanted to be and walk through doors I never thought would be open for me. My life changed. LMU has partially shaped me into the man you see before you today. The principles, morals, values that I had instilled in me at the Salvation Army were all confirmed while attending LMU. And this has helped me and my family in countless ways. Recently at LMU, I met with the Senior Vice President of Student Affairs. She asked me, LaRon, what do you see yourself doing in the future? And I responded, I see myself as a bridge and as a bridge builder. I want to work with young people who are similar to me and connect them to successful people like you. Provide them with mentorship where you guys can make a difference and deepen your legacy. And as a bridge builder, I want to go back into my community with the message of hope and equip young people to pursue, recognize, and take advantage of the opportunities before them within higher education and community programs like the Salvation Army. I owe a big part to this change in my life to the people in this room today. The people in here helped fund Salvation Army and keep it operating. I just want to say thank you all. So what is next for me? I'm on track to earn my master's degree in education and also aspiring to obtain an MBA, hopefully in sports management, and hopefully one day earn a PhD if God permits it. But more importantly, I know that because I was able to attend LMU and because I had the support of the Salvation Army behind me, I have the opportunity for a much brighter future than I would ever have thought was possible. I have promised myself to continue to set goals, strive to meet them head on, but sometimes I wonder what tomorrow will hold. But because of the strength, focus, and faith I have, whatever path I choose will be worth all the hard work and dedication I put in to get there. I will not take granted for anything that I've achieved so far. I did not expect a handout. I will continue to work for what I need to accomplish and see the possibility in every obstacle. I want to give back to those in need as I was given the same helping hand. If I have a family of my own someday, I hope to show them that anything is possible and that to dream is good, no matter how simple or outrageous the dream may be. As I conclude, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for giving me your time, your effort, and most importantly, support to the Salvation Army. I am who I am because of the many individuals like you. I also want to thank the Salvation Army and its wonderful officers and employees, and also volunteers, because without you, the world would not be as great of a place. Thank you for giving me my life, future, and God bless.